Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Vikash, and I welcome each and every one of you for this last and final day of our international webinar series on digital and media literacy in disinformation age, organized by the Department of Visual Communication, Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science. We are astounded by your overwhelming response over the past 5 days, by your active participation throughout the event. And I'm sure this webinar has inculcated a lot of information on media literacy through the extraordinary speakers we had in the past 5 days. But don't you think it's necessary to have some literacy on GAPMIL, Global Alliance for Partnerships on Media and Information Literacy? So everyone have heard about UNESCO, but what is GAPMIL? So that's what today's session is all about. What is GAPMIL and what is its mission, vision, objectives, and what GAPMIL does to bring every individual with access to media and information. And to introduce our speaker for today, I bring Mrs. Ananda Karthik. Over to you, Mrs. Ananda Karthik.
Thank you so much, Professor Vikash. Our brains depend on information to work optimally. The quality of information we engage with largely determines our perceptions, beliefs, and attitudes. In the ever-evolving knowledge societies of today, people across the world are witnessing a dramatic increase in access to information and communication. But that being said, while some people are starved for information, others are flooded with print, broadcast, and digital content. Everywhere, people are yearning to freely express themselves, to actively participate in their governance process and cultural exchange. Media and information literacy, MIL, provides answers to the questions that we all ask ourselves at some point of time or the other. It provides all citizens with critical competencies to survive in the 21st century. How can we access, search, critically assess, use, and contribute content wisely, both online and offline? What are our rights online and offline? What are the ethical issues surrounding the access and use of information? How can we engage with media and ICTs to promote equality, intercultural and interreligious dialogue, peace, freedom of expression, and access to information? Recognizing that and to achieve MIL for all will require national policies and international policies. UNESCO thus initiated a media and informational literacy policy that has developed some strategic guidelines. Today, on the last day of our webinar series, we have with us Dr. Alexandre Voci. He is a Brazilian journalist and educator focused on media literacy, who holds a specialization in digital business in University of California, Berkeley. He currently serves as the international co-chairman of the UNESCO-GAPMIL, and he's the director of the consultancy He's focused on media, culture, and education. He's a columnist at a Gazeta de Povo newspaper and Revista Educator magazine, and also hosts the Itade Media TV show on Canal Futura Brazil. He's an author and co-author of several books in the field of media literacy. Dr. Syed is also a member of the scientific board of Communicare magazine and the consultancy board of Educamedia Teachers Training, which is a Google initiative. He has recently joined the researchers team on artificial intelligence, ethics, and media education in Brazil. It's indeed a privilege and honor for me and my colleagues at Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science for you to share this forum with us today, sir. So participants, welcome to the last day, or I could say the grand finale of our international webinar series on digital and media literacy in disinformation age. Over to you, Dr. Syed.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ananda, and all my colleagues from Kumaraguru College. of liberal arts and science. I've been waiting the whole week to be with you. Actually, due to the time zone difference here in Brazil, I'm actually now in São Paulo, Brazil. I couldn't watch each presentation because it was really in the morning here where the day begins, and but I just bookmark all of them in my browser to marathon it during the weekend. So I will watch everyone during the weekend that's just beginning here in Brazil. Here in São Paulo, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and just I think sometimes when you forecast the weather and the time, you can feel closer to everyone. So I'm here 9 o'clock in the morning in Brazil during the winter time, since we are in the southern hemisphere. So we are in winter time, and it's a kind of cloudy day. But I'm very happy on the Saturday to start to speaking with you. And I'm honored really to be invited by you. And I think GAPMIL is honored to be part of this international webinar series, because one of the most important GAPMIL roles is to spread MIL for everyone in every part of the world. And so this is a so special and high quality webinar series that we are very proud to be. And all the people from Kumaraguru College was so kind with me, and so pleased and so warm in this invitation, that I'd like to thank you, Ananda, Leo, and all the colleagues from Kumaraguru. The time is short for a presentation that I would like to do something more deeper. So probably and hopefully I'll be there in presence one day physically, and I can lecture for you in a more deeper learning, learning process of MIL. Today, I will share now my screen just to begin, and I'd like to welcome everybody who is online right now. I'll share my screen to start here. So here we are. Actually, when the professionals from Kumaraguru invite me, they said, "Oh, please touch the field of GAPMIL, the roles of GAPMIL, since I am the co-chair of GAPMIL right now, which is the Global Alliance for Partnerships on Media and Information Literacy, a UNESCO-led initiative. I'm co-chairing with Mr. Jesus Lau, a Mexican librarian that looks for the field. He's the other co-chair. He looks for the field of information literacy within the librarian sciences. But actually, I'll talk about GAPMIL as I was requested. But I feel responsible, and I feel pleasant to also to raise the awareness about MIL to all of you as well, and to talk about MIL itself today. So I will share. I'm wearing actually two hats. Okay, one is the co-chairman of GAPMIL, international co-chairman, and the other one is my work as a journalist, educator, and director of Zeitgeist, which is my organization here in Brazil that I direct, and I make advisor and also projects on MIL on public schools, private schools, governments, and also NGOs. So the title of my presentation today is a little bit tricky and a little bit provocative, I think. Eagles do not flock. Why do I mention this as a title? Because MIL as a global alliance, I like this sentence in English, because eagles is quite similar to ego, the Freudian concept of ego. And when we mention that eagles don't need to flock because they can hunt by themselves, we are saying that we are humans and we don't need to be with each other to make the things, which is not true, actually. We humans, when we are together, when we are in a group, we do things better. We have better achievements, actually. But this is a kind of paradox that we need to face when we are trying to merge people or to gather people into an alliance or a network. Everybody is an eagle in one alliance, and it's an eagle like the bird eagle, and it's an eagle like the Freudian concept. But we need to flock together when you are an alliance, and so this is the main importance of an alliance like GAPMIL. When we flock, we are stronger, and we can make MIL concept stronger as well. So, but naturally, eagles do not flock. So to be actually to direct to chair an alliance, you have this challenge to put eagles to flock. It's not an easy challenge, but it's important for the cause itself. It's important for MIL itself. So this is the role for me, the most important role of alliances and network, mainly international ones, is to push MIL to another level, to push the awareness of MIL to another level. Actually, not everyone will call MIL as MIL. I will mention this a little bit further on in my presentation. We have a lot of concepts, different concepts that come from all places in the world. But MIL is a concept generated within UNESCO, and I explain what does it mean. Okay, but actually, I like to use this picture, trying to represent what the contemporary times means to us. This castle is a castle in Scotland, and the community around this castle, they invited a Brazilian graffiti artist to graffiti the walls of the castle. And this image itself, it's it's not a simple image to digest, and nobody likes it at the first sight or at the first glance. Me, for example, I spend some time to like this image, but this is what, for example, is education. It's the formal education right now. The education itself, the schools, they are the castle because they are traditional. They bring the tradition of the formal education from centuries till now. But we have the contemporaneity of the medias and the culture of the students, the culture of the youngsters, the culture of the kids, raising and growing up attached to its walls, like the graffiti. So the image we have of the media now, of the education now, and actually even of the technology means now, are similar to this image in my point of view. It's not a simple icon to digest. It's not a simple picture to understand. We are facing now some really old challenges connected to really brand new demands and realities. And this picture symbolizes also what MIL is all about. MIL are a bunch of skills that we need to have since we are kids to watch the world through throughout our window, our eyes, our mind. We need to these skills to understand the world we are living. That's a shock of everything that comes from a centenary age, the traditional field, and also the brand new things that are coming. So this is a very symbolic image for me. The name of, just to I think that I put the name of my organization at Zeitgeist, which is a German word. This Geist is the same word for poltergeist, that movie about the ghosts. Geist means not ghost, but means something that you cannot touch. Okay, like gas, for example. And Zeit, it's time. So Zeitgeist is a philosophical concept by John Herder, which was a philosopher and an art critic from the 18th century, and he developed this word, which for me means contemporaneity. Zeitgeist, the spirit of the time, literally, because Geist in this sense in German is spirit of the time. Zeitgeist is the spirit of the time. So Zeitgeist, for me, he created this to make art critical. he used to say that, for example, the art needs to represent the spirit of its time. So, for example, the classic art needs to be represented by the human figure because it was born at the classic. The classic art was born the classic time. So in the Greece, they need to represent the body and the science because the society was focused on the human and the thinking and the conscious. And so you not be able to make something like this on the Middle Age during the Middle Ages. So I use the same concept to develop Zeitgeist, which is the organization I run in Brazil. This is one picture of Zeitgeist. We are a free and remote lab, open to debates, research, and project development based on MIL. So we are breathing the spirit of our time, and the schools needs to breathe the spirit of their times. The university needs to breathe the spirit of its times. So it means exactly what MIL is all about, to give us tools and skills to embrace the spirit of our time. So I use this philosophical concept to describe Zeitgeist. And as I have a background of journalism, sometimes just one thing. Sometimes it's hard to speak, to be the last one to speak, because I'm not sure. I've been seeing so amazing people speaking here before me, and I know a lot of things that I'm going to talk right now. Probably they have talked before. So I apologize about this, but I need to go back a little bit for us to understand the concept of MIL, the importance of MIL, and also the importance of GAPMIL. As a journalist in my background, and also I'm still a journalist right now, but not full time. I used to cover education like an issue, but the evolution that the communication has done with technology is similar to evolution of the education has come inside the classroom due to the technological developments for the last 30, 40, or maybe 50 years. It was so quick. So, for example, up to 1980 here in Latin America, if you want to broadcast a TV show, like I have a broadcast TV, I host a broadcast TV show about MIL in Brazil. By that time, I would really need to have a TV station or be hired by a TV station to broadcast a TV show. So this simple model of communication means the red dot. This red dot, means the TV station, and the blue dot is the audience, and this arrow it means the message. It's one message sent, the same message with the same language for the whole audience. And for those who are interested, they connect, they zap, they put in the channel. For those who are not interested, they change the channel or turn off the TV. It's up to the 80s, yeah? So nowadays you have communication in this model. We are like Manuel Castells. I hope you have read. If you don't, please read the Network Society by the Spanish Manuel Castells that define our times from the 90s from a network society. You are connected in networks, and it can be used for a communication model nowadays. And actually, all these lines that connect the dots here, they are lines that where the messages are not unique. Actually, it's not one message for all of them, but we can develop a specific message and language connected to that reception we are going to have. So we have the long tail process in communication when you can address a topic for a really specific audience. That's what's communication nowadays. That's what we are doing now. We are talking a very specific things right now. I'm talking a very specific field for those who are there, my audience, who are interested in this topic. By the 80s, it was almost impossible if you're not in presence, if it was not in a conference, presential conference, also or if a television decides to hold me, to host a TV show, but with a more wider interest. For example, communication itself, but not MIL. So if you go back and use the same model for education, you have a teacher up to the 80s sending the same message for the group of the students, even they are different by itself, like human beings. Yeah. And so when these models start to use technology, you can address by platforms or by apps or by technology, you can address the content and the skills development specific by people, person by person, actually, which means that certain students that learns better watching a movie can learn watching a movie. A certain student that learns better watching a lecture, he's going to watch a lecture. So this change of model is a change of model of communication, education, actually society organization, and that's the base of MIL. That's when MIL starts to grow its importance in the critical thinking of every citizen in the world, from the kindergarten until the graduation, in my point of view and some experts. So I like to make a quick joke. We have a paradox of Gutenberg and Zuckerberg here, because Gutenberg, when he created the press as one content. For example, the Bible, he pressed the Bible in as one content, the same Bible to everyone. Yeah, and Zuckerberg, not him itself, he's facing a lot of problems right now. But I mean, the internet itself, the MIT and all the people, Nicholas Negromonte in MIT. Another book that I suggest is the Information Era from Nicholas Negroponte from MIT. It's a great book to understand what we are living now, even if it's a 1990s book. What they've done is to open the possibility to address the message and the communication to a specific audience with a specific language. So it's a kind of paradox. Gutenberg is Zuckerberg, okay? Just a joke with the names. But if we go really backwards, we can find two other amazing persons in Europe during the Second World War. I'll just quick mention, but if you want to know more about them, I suggest you to make some research. There are a lot of things published. But Janusz Korczak, which is the first gentleman here from your right, Janusz Korczak, it was a Polish Jewish doctor who created actually an orphanage, a kindergarten for the orphans of the Second World War. And he used the radio on 1930 as a tool for the kids to communicate themselves inside the kindergarten, inside the orphan house, so that the kids could express themselves through the radio system inside the orphan's house. This is the beginning of MIL concept of, we need to prepare to open the channels to people, because the radio is becoming a really mass media, which was the first one mass media in the history of communication to grow. We need to use it as an education and expression too. So Korczak was a pioneer. And Célestin Fresnay, the second gentleman here, is a French journalist and educator who created the first network of scholar newspapers within the public French educational system. So until now, if you look the research on CLEMI is the French department on Ministry of Education of France, who takes care of MIL and media and education. This department was created by Fresnay. Fresnay was the pioneer because he starts developing school newspapers, which is a very important thing to develop MIL skills and actually to to open the channels for the students' expression, which is a very important thing on MIL. Everyone has a voice to be heard. Everyone needs to participate as a voice in a democratic system. The kids, the youth, the adults, It's part of the democracy. It's part of the democracy ecosystem. So this was pioneers that I like always to underline because I love them. I love their idea. And so, sorry about this onion, but this onion means we are, MIL is an onion that you need to peel. I could speak about MIL for days, for weeks, for months, because there are a lot of different peels, like an onion peeling. We need to peel this onion, and so now, for the next 15 or 20 minutes, I'll just take the first peel of this onion, the first layer, okay, and then in another opportunity we can go deeper on this onion until it's middle, okay. So for UNESCO, this is a UNESCO concept of MIL. Actually, this kind of skills to deal with communication, mass media, messages, and technology was a theme within UNESCO connected to the Declaration of the Human Rights since 1948. So UNESCO took care of this theme, those skills from 1948 until now. But it was changing during the time. MIL is a brand new concept, and it's actually a hybrid. It's an hybrid concept. What does it mean? Came from two different areas: the media literacy or the media education, which comes from the skills for us to understand the media message, to be critical thinkers about media message, and to produce media in quality. And it came from information literacy field as well. That's a library science field. Has to do with the architecture of information, of the architecture of relevant information, for example, within the algorithms of the internet, within the libraries. So UNESCO decided to merge artificially these two fields to create one only field that deals with communication and information at the same time. So for UNESCO, MIL means that students, teachers, and all people, all citizens, understand the role and function of medias and other information providers, and process-based skills to analyze and use media information for self-expression, to become independent leaders, critical thinkers, and to participate in the professional governance and democratic processes of their societies. Okay, so it's connected to democracy, it's connected to human rights, and it's a right for everyone, not only for journalists or for professionals who work with communication. The communications workers and professionals, they have a responsibility to have MIL on their day-by-day work. But MIL are a bunch of skills that everyone needs to develop actually in the basic education before, and then later on and deeper on the graduation. So what's GAPMIL all about? GAPMIL was created, I was there in Nigeria, in Abuja, which is the capital of Nigeria in Africa, in 2013. I was the only Latin American representative by that time. So UNESCO, with the headquarters in Paris, they decided to make this meeting during a Nigerian conference on media and education, and to develop a multi-stakeholder alliance. This is really interesting about GAPMIL. GAPMIL is not a network of universities or only schools or only companies. Merge everyone. We have, for example, students, schools, governments, companies like BBC or Deutsche Welle from German. We have Kumaraguru College as a GAPMIL member. And we have students, individuals, students, teachers, researchers, professionals that are not linked to a great network or a great company. Twitter is with us, but actually the Temple University in Philadelphia, United States, with us. So we have 500 members right now. And you can be a member, just enroll yourself on our website, okay? So GAPMIL is focused and permanent international alliance, multi-stakeholder, okay? So we articulate partnership to drive MIL development impact globally. That's what we are doing right now, yeah, with this series of webinars. we enable the MIL community to speak as one voice in one certain critical matters, particularly as related to policy. So we advocate for policies on MIL. So later on here, I'll talk a little bit about the policies here in Latin America, which might be might be interesting for most of you to know how's the situation here. And actually, we need also to concept a platform. We are developing a common platform for MIL-related networks and associations. So if we're an association, a local association, we can connect to GAPMIL. So we have local associations like Namely, which the biggest association of media literacy in US, called Namely. He's a GAPMIL member as well. So we are an alliance of networks also, and we need to raise the awareness of the theme. This is a contribution from a friend of mine, Beatrice Bonami, which is a PhD student in Brazil. Some slides we've made together. This is one of it. It says the main milestones of MIL within UNESCO up to 2016. Okay, we have a lot of more, but all this concept of MIL started really during the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, when everyone has the right to communicate free and to express yourself free to everyone. But as I mentioned before, we have practices involving media and education even during the wars, the Great Wars. Okay, so we must not consider MIL or the importance of MIL a brand new perception or a brand new need. Actually, COVID-19 crisis and also the fake news crisis that a lot of countries are facing in the political and social background, it accelerated the importance of MIL, but it has been there. MIL, not with this name, but the practice involving communication, education, technology, and social participation. It's been there since the middle of the two great wars, okay? So MIL, as I mentioned, it's a concept that was merged by different concepts, but actually it means a lot of different things. It's an umbrella concept, as we say. So I have listed a lot of things here that can be under MIL umbrella. Okay, so I'll mention just some different ones here, but games and virtual currency, it's a subject. Cyber culture and internet, news literacy, science literacy, information science, library sciences, public policies on childhood, youth, education, communication technology, freedom of expression, freedom of press, ICT and ethics, artificial intelligence, for example, and ethics, of course, dialoguing with ethics. So if you are working or researching on some of these themes, actually you are practicing MIL, you are researching on MIL, and you are able to contribute with the MIL skills to everyone, okay? And you can be within GAPMIL, okay? The 5 laws of MIL is quite interesting. It was created in a conference that we have made in Brazil. GAPMIL, we have some duties during the year. We have developed the Global MIL Week. What's the Global MIL Week? The Global MIL Week, it's a week, the last week of October, always, dedicated to MIL all around the world. For the last 7 years, we've developed a featured conference in one country, hosted by the government of that country. Last one was in Sweden, Gothenburg. This year is supposed to be in South Korea, but as COVID-19 is going to be online, okay? There's a call for papers right now in UNESCO website if you want to apply. It's going to be online, hosted by South Korea, during the last week of October. Okay, but we have made one here in Brazil, in São Paulo, in 2016, and then we developed these 5 laws of MIL that I invited you to read. The the 5 laws of MIL. There is one very important professor in India, Dr. Jagtar Singh from Punjabi. He helped Autumn Grizzle from UNESCO also to develop these laws. And I just like to underline the 5th law, which I think is the most important one in my particular point of view. That's MIL, it's a lifelong process. So let's take care to do not stuck MIL during a time of the student's life or a time of an adult or an elderly people's life. It needs to be a lifelong process. This is the thing that, as you must have listened in my curriculum when Mrs. Ananda presented. I'm on television right now. I'm on YouTube, and I'm within the schools and within the universities working with MIL, because I believe it's a lifelong learning process, and we must educate people to MIL wherever we are, and whenever we are. Okay, so because technology develops so fast, communication too, and if you are not in a constant education, everything is going to be obsolete soon, and the citizen will lose its skills quickly. So it's a lifelong process, and it is not acquired by once. It's acquired during your life process. So this is what the 5th law is mentioning. I select some facts here. I don't know about my time. I will speed up. I have a lot of things to say. I will speed up a little bit because I selected some important things in Latin America. I was elected for this position as a co-chairman. The community elected me and Jesus Law for chairman. But before, I was the responsible of the LAC region. LAC is Latin American and the Caribbean region. I was responsible within the GAPMIL for the first 5 years of the alliance. 4 years of the alliance as the LAC region representative. For example, it's good for you to know that Mr. Joey Alagram, it's the Filipino doctor, PhD in MIL, is the currently representative of Asia and Pacific for GAPMIL. So Joey Alagram is a person who needs to be closer to all of you in India. Very special person. But in Latin America, just as a curious fact, I have selected some facts here to just for you to realize that all around the world, MIL have reached different levels of development. And here in the Latin American and Caribbean region is very low development. I will jump this, but I'll just pay attention on this last one. But during this crisis, OCDE research shows that the difference of learning rates here in Latin America between the low and the high incomes community open 12 points in between. What does it mean? That people from low income community don't have access and don't have gadgets to access online education, and people from high income communities they have. So the distance between the quality of education has actually got bigger during the crisis. It's a very sad situation. Federal government don't spend money on innovation or education here, so it's more to innovate on MIL. It's more for the private sector or non-governmental sector, the NGOs. They're doing a great work here. There's another important item from this research that 60% of the teachers in LAC region don't consider themselves prepared to deal with technology. 60%. It's a lot of teachers. For example, only in Brazil we have 300,000 schools. So when you talk about teachers, 60% in the region, millions and millions of teachers. Okay, so we have a lot of challenge to face here in our region here. This is from Beatrice Bonami as well, my colleague. She has made a research. Where are the public policies on MIL here in Brazil? And she realized that most of the public policies are within the education ministry, in the education field. And digital field, if you take a look at the blue dot, it's the smaller dot. Only 100 laws are within or mention digital skills. Most of them are in education skills. And it was 10,000 results analysis. So it's a huge analysis made by Beatrice. And so here in the region, just for you to know, we are in 33 countries. So we have 33 different realities according to UN, okay, to United Nations. But we have a common background in MIL: human rights and democracy, public educations, libraries and literacy, and freedom of expression / freedom of speech. Here, globally, we have a map made by Beatrice as well, that you have how media literacy, media information, information literacy, digital fluency, all the terms that are involved with MIL, how are they spread around the world? So, for example, here, if you go back, you see that communication and media are the red dots. Education and literacy, the green dots. And digital technology, the blue dots, and yellow dots, the information. So when you MIL connected to media, you have, for example, more connected in your region. It's media in Asia, in some places in Asia, okay? In US and Canada, more connected to information. In Spain, in Mexico, to media. Here you have some with education and some with information, as well in South America. Different concepts. Alfabetización informacional is a Spanish word for media literacy. Here it's alfabetización in media. Media literacy is a different concept. There are different concepts that were born in different places, but all related to MIL. Okay, so it's all diverse, very diverse. It's a map. The first map you see, it's a Brazilian map of the country. Look how many different concepts we have across the country. Okay, so it's a challenge to make these eagles, just going back to the title of my speech, make these eagles flock, because everybody has its own, sometimes concept or name for this. Media education, it's another different name, which here it's mapped on the Brazilian map, okay? We've been, as I told you, we've been developing. I'm going to finish because I think I'm running out of time. But we have some milestones. But just to know that in 2019 and 2020, we have grown a lot the events during the MIL week. You can do locally a MIL week event in the last week of October and inform through the UNESCO website. And then we plot in a global map all the events that are simultaneously with the featured event. So last year we have 154. We're expecting for 2020 a lot, something like 160, 70, or 200 events during that week. And we put this event as a UN calendar official event from now on. This is one goal of GAPMIL that we had last year, 2019, during the General Assembly, UNESCO General Assembly in Paris, France. All the countries, they voted to put the global MIL week as an official calendar of United Nations. So it's not more a UNESCO thing, UN official celebration. Okay, so the challenges we have: how to integrate multiple stakeholders and concepts in one alliance, the Ego challenge, how to integrate multiple backgrounds into MIL, how to keep flowing smooth the work among 700 members, and big members, important members, relevant members. We are eagles, but we are swallow birds at the same time. This is what I mentioned at the beginning of we need to be together to make MIL stronger. At the same time, everyone has its own independence to do whatever they want. This is an important thing. We are renewing the MIL. I have here with me. You can download it for free. We've been in Serbia last year to review and renew the MIL curriculum for teachers. It's available, but this old one is released in 2011, and we are upgrading this with local meetings and also this global meeting that was presential last year in Serbia, in Belgrade. We are a bunch of specialists within GAPMIL and MILID, which is a very academic network of UNESCO. We are together reviewing, and for 2021, you're going to have a brand new MIL curriculum for teachers training. This would be important. You can download it for free on the UNESCO website. Other publications like this one, or Disinformation, it's only in Spanish and French, are available on UNESCO website as well. I'll jump some stuff here because I run out of time. I just want to mention that there's one very curious and very interesting initiative within GAPMIL and now within UNESCO Cities platform, which is the MIL City. How can a city educate for media and promote MIL skills? A city as a local public policy, integrating schools, libraries, cultural centers, advertisement, public billboards. And so you see a city as a network. When you see a city from the airplane, actually you see a network. So how can you look to a city as a network and integrate the public policies to benefit MIL skills? I'll not go deeper on this because I don't have time. But I like to leave all my contacts. I'm serving GAPMIL. So if you want to be in contact with me due to GAPMIL or due to Zeitgeist or my own work, I've done a lot of work here in Brazil. You can follow me on social media. I have here my addresses. I have this personal website, and it's with alexandre.com, and have my email and also my WhatsApp. I'm available for all of you. And thank you. I admire India a lot. I think the Indian people are just beautiful and peaceful. I'd like to thank you so much for this opportunity, and I open the floor for Q&A if you want to do it. Okay, thank you very much.
I'm so happy that we had this wonderful session with you, Alex. I can't tell you, Alexandre, like the kind of participation we've had, the kind of comments that we have received today during the live session is truly, it really talks to us about the kind of content, the excellent content that you have brought out in your session. You've really given us a complete research perspective and put us in a global context of the situation of MIL today. And I'm going to bring out a few questions to you because our audience are really looking forward to interacting with you today. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we have the first question here with us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have the first question from Mr. Shivam Bajaj from Chitkara University. How has artificial intelligence impacted MIL and especially journalism? And how has that helped you? Any examples that you'd like to share?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Shivan Bajaj. Actually, it's a new field. Actually, artificial intelligence is a new field of research, mainly on the human science field as an ethic issue. So the researchers are just beginning here, not here only in Latin America, but I think all around the world. For example, within UNESCO, artificial intelligence it's stuck in another area of the organization. It's not connected to MIL directly. So I'm starting to make bridges between artificial intelligence and MIL. And this is why I'm researching right now on the Pontifical Catholic University here in Brazil. Of course, when you have an algorithm that selects the news you are going to read in your platform, you have artificial intelligence working in your benefit or against you. So it's very important, it's a very deep and important skill of MIL to understand the basic working system of technology and artificial intelligence for us to create more fair and robots or algorithms. What does I mean? The robots cannot reproduce the human prejudice, the human hate speech, the human bad things. They have to be open to ethics as well. And so actually, when you the machine learning in itself and the algorithm is itself artificial intelligence, but it's the first layer of artificial intelligence. So if you're using Google, you are using artificial intelligence, okay? But you're using the very first layer. You can go down, even to the deep learning, what we call deep learning in artificial intelligence. So it's strictly connected. And what can I say for you? It's actually, I encourage the universities to create centers or research groups on AI and MIL. I think it's the moment to start to go deeper on this kind of research. That's the thing I'm doing right now, and I'd like to share more of later with you. Thank you.
We'd also definitely love to have you at our university speaking to our students very soon on your next visit to India.
I will.
Thank you.
Like very much.
So we have not only students of media, we also have educators. We have this person who is pursuing a master's in education. So we have Revati, who asks, in your view and experience, what are the core areas that need to be constructed and which areas need to be enhanced for embedding MIL into school education?
Yeah. So the core areas, I'll mention three. Okay, the core areas, I believe, three. First one, freedom of expression of the students. The students need to participate in the ecosystem and the decision of the school. This is one core area. Second, the students need to understand and to look for the right information and news on the internet. All the research, including PISA, which is a global research on education, the last edition says students read news through algorithms and through social network, youngsters now. So we must prepare them to read the world through media. They are reading the world through media. And so how can we prepare them to read the world? So first of all, freedom of expression of the students. Second main thing, media literacy or news literacy. Very important. And the third thing, digital fluency and ethics. So we are using more platforms. Every time we are using more platforms to learn within or without the school. And we need to prepare a generation that use it in an ethical way and know how to use it to make the knowledge something bigger, something really interesting that can involve all the stakeholders in education. Okay, so
very true.
Yeah, and then to improve, I think if you look, so different the realities of the school all around the world, but I think some of them, they have one of this point more developed than the other one. So one important thing is to balance all these areas, and a school that balances all those areas, they're going to be in the right way to make a good speech or a good practice. Sorry.
Right. I must tell you, Alexander, we did have on the second day, we had Dr. Anubhuti, who's from India's premium media school, Indian Institute of Mass Communication. She has in fact worked with the government of India in media literacy and implementing it in schools. You should definitely have a look at her webinar series also.
I'll look at everyone. I will watch everyone. I'm crazy to watch everyone because I haven't mentioned, but here, yes, I have already. We have 6.5 hour time zone difference for the people who are not watching us. So this is the reason I'm a little bit delayed with everything, but I'm going to watch everything during the weekend.
It would be entirely our honor, sir. We have another question here for you from Mr. Shovik Acharya. He asks, how do you think youth of a country can contribute in developing the digital literacy through different UN initiatives?
Look, youth is everything. I must say that. I haven't mentioned a lot of things in my presentation, but the strongest part of GAPMIL is the youth GAPMIL. We have youth ambassadors in all the countries. They are representing GAPMIL within the youth. And they are doing the most amazing jobs that everyone, better than every adult in GAPMIL. So actually we empower youth to lead the process. Youth should lead this process. For example, I haven't mentioned this well, but during the Global MIL Week, we have one day especially for the Youth Forum. So there are 3 days. The youth participate during the program for the 3 days, okay? But there is one day specific, it's the Youth Forum. So they create the whole program, and they run the whole program. When it was presential, you can see it physically, but now even virtually, we're gonna have the Youth Forum happening in one of the 3 days of the Global MIL Week. So youth has a special place and a very strategic role of leading this process among the youth. I think I'm more able to speak with adults and lifelong learning process. Actually, I'm a high school teacher as well. I have projects in high school. I have 2 small projects in high school with Zeitgeist. So I like to work with the youth, but generally I empower my students to spread the word. I don't spread it by myself because it's a peer-to-peer education. We know that Margaret Mead mentioned this in her studies like 20 years ago.
Very true, very true, very true. We have another question, in fact, an interesting question in this present context. It's from Hitanshi Kataria. She's an assistant professor from Ahmedabad. Being a media academician, what are the constraints that you face during researching about MIL, which is actually the need of the hour? What are the constraints that you face?
Actually, the most important one is it's to make people understand that they are doing similar things under different names. I mentioned this in my presentation. So MIL is not a very popular concept as itself, as an acronym, because it's an acronym. As an acronym, it's not very popular. We must understand that if you are doing, for example, newspaper inside the school process, you are doing MIL. Even you are not using the word MIL, but you are developing MIL skills in your students because they are making research, they are writing piece of journalism, they are photographing, they are making videos if it's digital, and they are publicizing it. They are
learning through doing.
Learning by doing. Exactly. So when you research on that, sometimes people don't identify themselves with the acronym MIL. So you must make people understand that they are doing MIL. This is hard.
Very true. Very true. You put it perfectly right. Exactly. We have a question from Ms. Ajina Rose. She's a research scholar from Tirunelveli. She asks, what can be adopted as tools to impart MIL, especially among rural and marginalized areas?
Great. I have one thing that I used to say. We have a very challenging things in rural areas in Brazil. Because if you look to the Brazilian map, we have one of the most longest longest coasts, okay, of the world. But we are actually a wider country as well. So we go to the countryside a lot, even to almost to the Pacific Oceans. So we have a huge rural area that's not so developed as the areas that are close to the ocean. So what I used to say, there are the most, for example, the most low-income area are on the countryside here. So what we are used to do is you don't need to have technology to spread MIL. You can spread MIL or even to talk about technology, because the base of everything is communication. So sometimes what we do is to use basic grassroots technology to work with the rural areas. I'll give you some examples. Radio, sometimes the radio, the broadcast radio, but also the small system, the small system radio still works.
Community radios.
Exactly, community radios. For example, within the Amazon forest that we have here, we have tribes all in the Amazon. They communicate by radio. We have a project here that's amazing. They produce radio using a mic and a speaker within a boat, and we travel the river with the boat. They stop the boat in front of a community that lives next to the river in the Amazon, and they make the radio about health care issues.
Wow.
Health issues. So it's a radio made by the natives using low technology to develop MIL. So you can develop MIL, for example, with a game, with a role-playing game, making games, making physical games with children. The main thing is, how can communication be fair enough, can be good, and you can do it with or without technology, with low or high technology, with high touch, with low touch, but you can do it. So creativity is the world.
Very true, very true, very true. We have Dr. Raju John. He's the head of the Department of Mass Communication from Indore, and he asks the challenges of getting ill-informed. Can we have the full question on the board?
The question of getting ill-informed. Ananda, you can help me. When you say ill-informed, what do you want to mean exactly? Just for me to understand better.
I think the question has got a little truncated. I'll just take the next one and I'll come back to this. Yeah?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just want to understand better the question to answer it properly, okay? What are the benefits of being members of GAPMIL? Yeah, this one is easier. You can enroll yourself if you type GAPMIL in UNESCO website. You're gonna be within the UNESCO official GAPMIL website. Then you just fill in a form. You have a few days to be approved, or because you need to be within the area. I need to say the website's awful, it's terrible, but we are improving that. Okay, you're going to change this website. The website is really bad now, but we're going to improve that. What are the benefits? We are part of a community that are thinking MIL 24/7. Okay, so we have a digital email group that we exchange message, but not too much. But for example, to do not flood everyone's inbox message, but you are able to participate in bids for projects on MIL. You are able to participate of committees, for example, scientific committees of the Global MIL Week. We have an award, a Global MIL Award, that we recognize best practice and research, and we award the people every year. You can run for the award, be nominated, or you can be part of the commission that select the winners. So you start to participate to the community, and also you can use MIL for your benefit to spread the word, as we are doing right now. You're part of a family member. So these are the benefits to be part of this. It's for free, doesn't cost anything. So you are more connected with the initiatives, not only the academic initiatives, but the practical initiatives. We've made a special, there's one thing that I haven't mentioned, but it's good to mention. We have a special action during the COVID-19 crisis, that we develop a special page there inside with solutions, webinars. We're making webinars every week. We have made a database of practices to use during the COVID-19 that came all from our members. So it's very interesting to be part, because you start to be part of this community. This is the main benefit.
Very nice. The next question is, I think probably it's the last question we can take because we've exceeded the time already.
Okay.
How can the youth avoid getting influenced by the hive mind of social media?
Developing deeper MIL skills. Actually, the hive mind, or we call the bubbles, also the bubbles of internet, or the bubbles of social media, they are caused by two things. The first one, if you took to the 30 years ago, 50 years ago conception of agenda setting and this kind of thing, it works even for digital media. What I mean is that the media has the power to set the social agenda. At the same time, the media has the power to set the social agenda. The major opinion tend to make the minor opinion quiet. People used to tend to attach the major opinion.
Correct.
Instead of the minor. So there's a trend for the minor opinion to disappear.
Correct.
When you talk about bubbles, you have two things. You have the human thing, the human skill on MIL, that you need to research for more than one source, for example, to read the news, or to check the sources, or to check who is writing, or to check the date, or to check the bias, and then look for diversity. This is one thing. But there is one thing, that's artificial intelligence. You are stuck in the hive mind of an algorithm. And the first thing is you need to be aware of this.
True.
Yeah, being aware of this is the first step to start to do not behavior to not flock on the internet.
Correct.
You know, so this is it's quite complex, but MIL skills try to respond this.
Right. We have the question here. What type of participatory approach you adopt in UNESCO for media literacy promotion?
Yeah, UNESCO worked with actually two networks on media literacy. Okay, GAPMIL is the hugest one, is the bigger umbrella, because it's a multi-stakeholder, as I told you before, connects everyone. So we have an international steering committee on GAPMIL that's selected every 2 years.
Okay.
So the first one was, we developed GAPMIL in 10 persons. So the first one, we just divided the tasks to everyone, and we create that committee, and we run it for 5 years. We don't have too much funds to run anything, so you need to raise funds for specific things. So each year you have an election, which the members can elect the next steering committee. The steering committee we have 2 chairs, 2 co-chairs, 2 general secretaries, and their local representatives. 1 local representative, 1 for Latin America and the Caribbean, 1 for Europe and North America, 1 for Asian and Pacific, 1 for Africa, and 1 for the Arabic countries. Okay, and the youth. So you have all these representatives. And then within this, we are creating working groups, thematic working groups. So we have a working group that merges all the members that they want to deliver to. They volunteer themselves to work, for example, with public policies issues. There are working groups that work with the youth issues. So we're starting to develop this within GAPMIL, and people are starting to volunteer, and we are setting this. And there's another network that's important for you to know, that's called MILID. Okay, MILID, MILID.
Okay.
MILID, it's a network of cathedrals, academic cathedrals, academic chairs around the world. There are, I think, around 20 chairs in 20 universities that they promote exclusively research on MIL. They are within GAPMIL, okay, but they have a permanent ISC. They have a elected ISC as well, MILID itself, but it rotates among the chairs, because to be a GAPMIL member, you must enroll yourself, but to be a chair on MILID, it's a more bureaucratic process, because you need to have a university with a approved research center on MIL, and then apply, and then need to be approved by the university in your region, and then it's another dynamic. So that's how we work. Actually, I need to say we are still learning how to work in participatory demand. So we are still learning how to do it.
Right. Right. Okay. We just wanted to make things quite interesting. We've got actually a small contest that I'll just talk to you about for our participants. And before I hand it over for the vote of thanks to my head of the department. Okay. So the last 6 days you've been here with us. What was your key takeaway from this webinar series? You can write it down on a paper in 1 or 2 words and click a picture of yourself like the one on the left and post it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram with the hashtag KCLAS Media. Note the spelling. We'll feature you in our international webinar journey video that we'll be making it for UNESCO-GAPMIL, and it'll be shared on all the social media. Please do include in your post your name, designation, organization, not on the paper, on your post. Okay? And let me thank you so much, Alexander. I'm going to be handing it over to Professor Leo to take this forward from here onwards.
Mrs. Karthik, thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.
The pleasure is entirely mine. Thank you.
Sorry about it. 6 days, 6 webinars, 6 speakers. Truly, we reflected, infused, and pragmatic the real meaning of media literacy in this disinformation age. Dr. Feroz and Dr. Anupati's session proved and paved the way for the articulating concrete partnership to drive media literacy in a global way. And Dr. Batwa and Professor Meera shared knowledge and guided in enabling media literacy community to speak in one voice through their presentations. And Dr. Jayaprakash pictorial episode again showed a photograph can and should be a pictorial representation. And today, your session, Dr. Alexandre, further deepens the strategy and the plan of MIL towards global community. UNESCO, the Global Alliance for Partnership on Media and Information Literacy, GAPMIL, goes with above discussed and focused area. I'm sure this webinar, international webinar series on digital and media literacy in this disinformation age have served its purpose to literate the common man and re-analyze the media academician and student community. The staff and students of Kumaraguru College of Visual Communication Department is proud and honored to host this webinar. Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science would like to thank you, Dr. Alexander and GAPMIL, for your partnership as well as for the guideship. Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science would like to take the initiative as well as possibly setting up a Center for Media Literacy in our institution in partnership with the institution. We had around 1,000 registered participants for each webinar from around 10 countries. I also like to thank Kumaraguru management, our principal, Dr. Vijala Kennedy, and our senior faculties who supported this event. A special word of thanks to the project head of this webinar, Professor Ananda Karthik, for making this webinar come true. A word of appreciation to my other colleagues, Professor Vijay and Vikas, for your on and off-screen support. Last but not the least, wonderful and active participants from all over the globe. I'm sure this webinar would have made someone to get yourself enriched with the knowledge. Without you, this webinar is nothing. Signing off from this webinar, this is Leo, Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science, where you want to be. Thank you. Good night.